I wanted to read like a couple of things.
Sure.
Because the people that never heard of Yung Pueblo before, they'll be like, what are you guys talking about? So there's a lot of good ones in here, and maybe even you'll read a few later from your book, maybe.
Sure.
But like, here's something you posted recently, and it said this: 3 signs of a good friend. You do not have to perform for them. They hold space for you during struggles. They are truly happy for your success. Again, it's simple, but it just makes you really think about that,
Yeah, and there's been so many conversations about toxic relationships, right? Toxic people. And I think that it's well and good and it's important to realize, who's harming you. But I also think it's quite dangerous to describe an individual as a toxic person, right? It's better said, this person has harmful behavior, because no one is inherently toxic, right? So as opposed to, a lot of great people are writing about that, to me, it would be redundant to write about that. So let me instead focus on what is actually a good friend, as opposed to just seeing the negative side of things, because then you can kind of easily more so parse out and say, oh, right, this person is actually very supportive of me, because if they see my success, they feel it as their own. And whenever I rise, they're also rising with me. And being able to highlight the positive side of things, I think, can be a little more helpful sometimes.
Yeah, let me hit it with a couple more while we're at it, so people get a flavor of what we're talking about here. Here's another one. A partner who supports your dreams and your healing is a priceless gem, a heaven in human form. What do you just come up with these things?
Yeah, that's an old one. That's from like 2016, 2015, and it just like appeared one morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again, it's just said something that, if you think about it, it seems like a truism, but I've never heard it put in that way. And it's something that I can kind of meditate on for the day and just start thinking about it. And again, I think you said it earlier, this is stuff we all need to meditate on, because it takes time to really process these things.
What's funny is when I started writing and I realized that let me really give this a shot, put my energy behind it, what I would picture is an individual on the train in NYC, opening up my future book, reading 1 or 2 pieces, and then just thinking about them for the rest of the day. Because I designed the book to literally just be like one thought, though it may be very sparse on the page, it doesn't take up a lot of space, it can take up a lot of space in your mind if you really want to consider it.
And why did you say NYC? Because that's the oasis of madness?
Yeah, I was in NYC when this all started coming together, and I would always, look for books that, I could fit into my pocket, something light, and that would just help me, hopefully be a little wiser. So I was trying to just add to that bunch.
Yeah, and maybe we'll talk about my time in New York City later, because you definitely need a break sometimes. This is another one that I really liked, and then we'll get to talking about some other things, but here it is. Maturity is knowing that when your mood is down, you should not trust the way you see yourself. That really applies to me a lot. Thoughts on that one? Me
too. Honestly, that one came after just 3 days of just processing my own sort of deconditioning. When you're meditating, when you meditate daily, it's basically a deconditioning process, right? You're literally sort of releasing whatever you've accumulated from the past. And sometimes that comes with very visceral emotions. You literally will feel the sadness or anxiety or whatever it was that you felt very intensely in the past, you'll feel that again. And your mind becomes so cloudy that in those moments, not only will you not feel well, but everything that you're perceiving is being clouded by this emotion that is very thickly in the front of your perception. And in those moments, you're like, oh, I'm terrible. I'm not doing anything right. I need to change this and that and that. And to me, one of the major lessons I've learned is that's not the moment to make big decisions. You need to make the biggest decisions in your life when your mind is calm, and especially around self-analysis. Yeah, and you have some other great quotes when it comes to being calm and things, which we'll talk about. But what I struggle with a lot is anger. I've always have, and sometimes, but usually these days I can recognize when I'm angry. Like I'll make a few mental decisions or judgments in my head, and I'm like, oh, you're in the angry mood. Mm-hmm. That means you have to be really careful today and not say something that you're going to regret to someone because you're in an angry mood. So you can't trust yourself. Your judgment's off. Right. Your behavior's off. So what you need to do is do something useful today and make sure it doesn't pour into something, because tomorrow you're not going to be angry and you're going to regret those decisions that you're making. So absolutely. And I think that's actually brilliant, because it's in those moments that you don't actually want to suppress the anger at all, right? You want to be able to feel what's happening, because the moment that you start suppressing it, you're just duplicating it, making it stronger, and it's setting up a situation so that in a future moment, it may come out even bigger. So being able to feel that anger without reinforcing it, I think that's one of the biggest signs of maturity, is being like, okay, right, I don't feel well right now, but I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna make sure that I don't hurt anyone, that I don't say anything mean, and I'm gonna feel what I'm feeling, but I'm still gonna try to live my life gently. And to me, that's real maturity. And it's a skill that takes a lot of effort to cultivate.
Definitely, yeah. And I had another one of those moments a couple nights ago where I was like, wow, I'm really unhappy right now. I'm not very impressed with myself, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to feel this way in a couple days. So I need to not make rash decisions. I need to not make it affect my relationships with other people.
Right.
But I also need to not run away from it and not go drink a 6-pack of beer, which is what I used to do, which we can talk about later. And that was a way of not processing it, and then it would just fester. And I know you talk about that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it was just powerful thinking out. And, you know, who knows? Your stuff's probably already affecting me. You know? And I got told the same thing when I was training for my Ironman race from one of my coaches. He says, Brian, when you're in the moment where everything hurts and you feel like you want to stop and that it's only going to get more painful, always realize that that is temporary.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can remember that, you know, because 20 minutes later, you could be in euphoria on the same run with the same temperature on the same day. And it's like riding those things out, you know.
I think that's one of the, especially in relation to pain and difficult moments, we are so quick to forget that everything is always changing, and that situation is so momentary and so fleeting that it'll be gone. So why create yourself even more misery? Because a lot of times we don't realize that, right, physical pain will be a certain amount, but the mental pain that we create from that, we literally multiply it so much more than what it really is, that we're just basically drowning in misery.